up to my glass, and now I need to add some water.
It just looked for a moment like you peed in your break.
That's why it took 3 minutes.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed this amazing break. You feel refreshed.
This amazing break was sponsored by
topics.
This amazing break was sponsored by Red Hat, responsible for the greatest break in the world. Pardon me. This great break was sponsored by Microsoft, responsible for the greatest proprietary software in the world.
You do realize we're called open.clouds.dev, but never mind, be flexible.
Exactly, we need to be inclusive, we need to be open. We are not proprietary, they are, and we do not fight. That's an awesome introduction into our first topic. We do not fight the open source community.
Yes.
Because the cloud report, there was something different. Oh, damn it! It was not stored.
It doesn't matter because it all kind of fits the concept, doesn't it? Evolution of trust was a very, very good topic.
Absolutely, we should repeat that.
Leading to today, what we wanted to talk about today, but
damn it. No, you proposed me an interesting topic. Mm-hmm. It was you, not me.
Yes, it was me.
Because why did you propose the topic that we are going to talk about in a few seconds?
It all fits together perfectly today because you said at the very beginning, don't use the bad P word because it's the new normal. And apparently a lot of things have become the new normal already before the uncertain times we're living in now.
Things that should never have become the new normal, right?
Yeah, that for one, but also, the most awful thing for any PR and marketing director and chief of something or other is always, it's normal. Because if you're doing normal stuff, nobody probably wants to purchase your normal stuff. But you always have to be special and USP and we're the good ones and all the others are evil.
You mean like the guys from Red Hat?
Yes, I found this interesting article on LinkedIn written by someone called Carsten Samaschke, weird guy.
Chris, you should not read articles by those guys, by such a person, because trust me, you can't trust him because he has an opinion. He's running a business.
Yes.
But what was he complaining about?
Can I very, very quickly correct the headline because they have certain typos in the headline, and it should actually be, we're becoming really, really greedy, so we're fucking our roots. Was that a good summary of what I read?
What you read, Head?
What you read? You joker.
Well, yeah, it was. I today received an email by Red Hat where it basically blew me off my socks. I know that kind of argumentation by Microsoft, but reading it from Red Hat is basically a pain in the ass. Let me just read that out loud for those who are just not able to read. Shall I? Okay. Live webinar, the advantage of enterprise Linux over community projects. That was basically the point where they got me. How much does free software really cost your IT department? The sticker price is only the beginning. The real costs and benefits of software span the entire life cycle. Acquiring software is only the first step of a very long journey. A lot of IT teams look at the open source community as a way to obtain free software, but free is never really free. Right. There are costs associated with developing and maintaining stable software, and those costs in time, money, and people simply get transferred onto your IT department. A trusted vendor, such as Red Hat, can supply confidence and control over the entire life cycle of the software development through testing, security hardening and patching, package updates, and even participating directly in community development. Blah, 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 blah. So the message they are basically driving is, first of all, open source equals free, community equals free, community equals bad, because we, Red Hat, we are selling enterprise Linux, and enterprise Linux is way better than community. That's what they say. Chris, you know what puzzles me?
What? I mean, just
let that sink in.
This moment, because it happens rarely that I don't say anything anymore, but I just did for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. You know what puzzles me? Who am I? I was under the impression that Linux was a community product. I was under the impression that Red Hat claims to be the biggest open source company in the world. I was under the impression that Red Hat is not arguing against a community. But perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps Red Hat is just the Linux arm of Microsoft. And that would explain a lot to me, because
isn't it more the Linux arm of IBM?
Ooh, IBM and Microsoft. Wasn't there something in the past? What was it? DOS! I, frankly, know that kind of argumentation from our friends from Redmond. And don't get me wrong, I love our friends from Redmond. I love eating burgers with them, having a great drink with them. I even love, riding a car with them, reading a book with them. I love them. But their software not so much. And you know why?
Well. I don't think, so much, or when I read the article, it wasn't for me about company names. It wasn't so much
Absolutely,
about
totally on your side.
the greed that's behind it. It wasn't so much about the headline itself, because it's true. If you're running an enterprise Linux will probably be a better solution for you than Open Linux. I come from a world where we very clearly had a mission built around that.
Pardon me, Chris. Would an enterprise Linux be the better thing compared to a community Linux? Haven't we learned one thing in school? Exactly. It depends.
And that's what I thought. I think it's the last paragraph in the article.
Okay, let me scroll down there. Let me scroll down there. The last paragraph. Which aspect of that?
So, what you're saying there is completely right. 10, 15, 20 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, Linux wasn't the new normal. And when something is not the new normal, as it suggests, not a lot of people are subject matter experts on it, because otherwise it would probably be the normal and we'd see more experts. And back in the day, IT operations and infrastructures especially used to be highly complex operations, and you needed highly trained people to maintain them.
Yep.
Probably in a lot of the cases it will still be like that, but a lot of the digital transformation that we're all pitching out there, and a lot of the digital growth and new mindsets we are adapting point to one thing, which is, yes, it has become the new normal, and with becoming the new normal, it has become accessible. And the question persists, how important is this infrastructure level? What I deal with, or what I've dealt with the last couple of years, is people saying operating systems in Linux especially are unsexy, because there's other stuff there.
Yeah, but Chris, frankly, shouldn't they be unsexy? Shouldn't Linux, for example, just be commodity? Shouldn't it be something that you don't even think of because it's there? You understand it to be there, like say a driver for some peripheral on your computer. Frankly, what I wanted to say,
again going back a couple of years, because that's the funny thing. What happened there is either a retrospect perspective from Red Hat that we all didn't get to take part in, or something to do with the merger with the big other company. But the thing is,
you mean with the big blue company?
Never mind about the company names, but back in the day when I started selling Linux as a profession, when I started my career, actually one of the earliest questions I would ask in any scenario was, how mission critical are your workloads? Are they mission critical? Are they not? How much compliance do you have to deal with? And with a few simple questions like that, we could define pretty clearly, is an enterprise model and paying for a subscription within that the right model for you? Because there's a need. There's something you need to spend money on, same as we would buy insurances. If you don't have a house, don't buy an insurance for a house if you have one.
But this mailing basically implies you need to have an insurance for a house, even if you are just happen to walk through a village.
Exactly.
That's exactly what they do. And that reminds me of some other company. Pardon me, ma'am.
Well, and that's exactly it, because we've, for example, leaving out companies. The company I work for has been doing what they've been doing pretty long, but we've always kind of tried to just say our portfolio and what we do within our portfolio comes natural. It doesn't so much have to be a trend. Yes, we're an IT company. Also, we live from growth and innovation, and that's something that has to happen. But basically, it wasn't always community is bad, enterprise is good, and enterprise is better and community is worse, and developers do this and developers do that. But actually we had a real customer focus. We were saying, well, I'm not selling my subscription for the fuck of it, but I'm selling you a subscription because I'm adding value to what you do, and I'm adding
just one short question. Is the green background better?
I love green. You know me, I love green in any way, shape, or form. So, no, but just coming from that, what's happened there is large-scale companies have realized, with people being heavily dependent on technology, that basically just, slapping the sticker on your company saying I'm open source isn't enough anymore, because people are gaining more and more knowledge about the software we use and the infrastructure it runs on.
It was never enough, because open source and freedom of choice is not something that you just do because of selling things. It is a mindset, and on the other hand, it is not self-sufficient. There can be bad open source software, obviously.
The most important thing that I tell people with the view that apparently will be spread in this webinar is, open source is not a trend. Open source is also, I don't know, it's just so much more.
Yeah, I get it.
For a lot of stuff. Open source
it is a mindset, exactly.
It's a mindset.
But then again, Chris, Chris, by the way, there's one thing you should do, my dear friend. Just going a little bit away from the topic. you as a marketing genius that you are, shouldn't you post another LinkedIn message in reference of our live stream?
Well, didn't you do that, sir? Is
Sir,
this
I
showing
was
what
restarting my
you do?
computer because my computer runs with proprietary Apple software and it crashes regularly.
Okay, wait. Let me share this. Come and get it now. It is great and interesting. And yes,
Make it great again.
we are open source, and that is nifty.
I love the term nifty.
Yes, right? I think we should use more of
Awesome.
these old school things. Okay, well, back from awful marketing on my side. I'm so sorry. I'm getting arrogant too. I'm just figuring, people know us by now. It's just like, we
They
start
don't.
our live
They
stream and
don't.
YouTube
They don't.
YouTube
They
breaks.
don't. They don't. They don't. They don't.
Well,
They
let's
never
let's
did.
get back. Let's get back to the article, because really that was something
Yeah,
I've
please,
been
please, please. Shall I
thinking about this.
turn back to the article? Is that what you
Yes.
want from me?
Yes, please do that.
Sir,
There we
yes,
go.
sir.
So basically, actually, to make a very, very long story short, first of all, what's happening there is a typical business and marketing move. It's something that should create sales and revenue, saying like, okay, now that the horse is dead of making open source something so extremely special because everybody's using it, Android phones, apps, blah, blah, blah. We've been through this in other episodes. We need a new marketing strategy. And the marketing strategy at that point is really, really rude, because basically, you are really fucking over at this point. Sorry for the strong language. The community that made you and the community that built you, and the mindset that was not produced by Red Hat. It wasn't produced by SUSE. It certainly wasn't produced by stuff like Microsoft, Facebook, Google, call them what they want. But open source is something that was born through community and through the power of many, and that actually has no patent and no inventor on it. And a company that sells enterprise Linux and then takes a step forward saying like, well, community is all bullshit because people in communities aren't paid to do what we want them to do, but they're free individuals, and go and do whatever they please. That's why we hate them now. It's just, it's weird. I know they're gonna relativize that in some way, shape, or form. But basically, I think it was somewhere in the headline or wherever you wrote it. It was "Don't forget your roots," and it's "Don't forget your roots" because the roots are what hold the tree in the ground and make it stand. If there's no roots, you'll fall over. Well, take that for a metaphor, and let's see what happens if their webinar is successful. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I just want to add some very minor things. I totally follow you on your way of laying it out because I can't say better. I'm just wondering why you haven't written that piece of article that we are currently staring at, which is available at samashke.com. Anyways, what I just wanted to point out is the thing that we touched on a little bit earlier. And I had this the past days in several conversations. There's obviously, and for good measure, a market for an enterprise Linux, for an enterprise kind of solution, for proprietary software. Absolutely. And I don't want to blame anyone using that. I don't want to blame the companies offering that. But first and foremost, the thing that you are building upon needs to fit your needs. And in most cases, you won't need that extra 1%. but they are acting, Red Hat specifically in that case because it was their email, they are first of all acting as if they stand against the community that basically shaped them, that they basically were born within. And secondly, they totally forget about that you need to have the right tool for the right job. And looking at cloud environments, looking at Kubernetes-driven environments, for example, I'm totally honest. What do you need an enterprise Linux for? What do I need a Linux for that has like 366 days of uptime guaranteed? What do I need that for?
I'll buy that at a public cloud, because there I only click and leave my credit card number and then it works.
No, but frankly,
so
with Kubernetes,
I can explain to you at the heart before you go into the next question.
I don't want to go into the next question. I just wanted to answer my own question. So please go ahead, Mr. I love community, Branston. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Continue.
Question then. No, go for it.
No, please. I want to hear your opinion, because your opinion is what matters to me. So,
I mentioned it earlier. Actually, it's already been here.
A repetition!
And should a company use enterprise Linux or not? The answer is yes, and not for your own sake and not to be cool and trendy and hip and use open source, but because of your customers and because of your customer base and the service and the experience you want to deliver to them. And this service and experience that you deliver to your customers should include trust, should include security, and should include an open product that does not bully you into some weird forms of contract where you're paying for services you don't need, where you get an awful product, where your security and your personal, private, or privacy is compromised. And that's where enterprise Linux comes in, because as much as I love open community projects, that's all fine and dandy. It's awesome. If you have real good Linux experts in your company, there actually is no reason to buy an enterprise version. But as long as you are not a proclaimed Linux expert, please let experts handle the security, maintenance, and uptime decisions behind your infrastructure.
Give me a second. I managed to... No, wrong. There I want to have him. I disagree.
Well, then let's disagree to disagree. No, let's agree to disagree. Sorry about that.
Can I please make my point?
Yes.
First of all, I agree with you on the fact that something like your Linux, something like your operating system should be rolled out and maintained by those who know. Totally on your side. I disagree with you on the fact that you would need to rely on an enterprise Linux. Not in general, but for specific use cases. And the cases I am referring to are cloud-based workloads. So if you, for example, want to run Kubernetes, you need to have knowledge of your Linux, totally on your side. You need to roll out a distribution that is secure. But frankly, most of the server distributions are, because they are made by the same people that do the enterprise distributions. And the community is way bigger, so there's even a greater chance of finding security issues on a short term and fixing them. But even if that would not count, the argument I hear most often with an enterprise Linux, or with let's get away a little bit from the enterprise Linux, but the argument I hear most often with why I should choose a Microsoft stack, for example, not to say any names, just a random name that just came into my mind, is that Microsoft guarantees my security and my patches. If you look at their track record, let me be very polite on that. Then the second aspect, pardon me on that. The second aspect is basically that most of the features that are sold to me are not required for me. Not speaking of a standalone Linux, not speaking of that. When I run some workloads within my Linux server, I totally have to rely on that thing, totally on your side. But if we speak of cloud environments, for example, where Kubernetes runs on top of that thing, let me put that very clear. Any fucking modern Linux would do. What do you need features like 366 days of uptime when a patch is rolled in for? You run an environment that is not thinking of a single machine, that is thinking of resource pools. If that one machine needs to restart, so let it restart. Where's the problem? Because your workload is still available. Your Kubernetes is still running. You can even throw away like 90% of all nodes of your Kubernetes at the same time, which, by the way, nobody would do. And it would still be running. Would be slow as hell, but it would still be running. And if there is coming more nodes back to work, or if there are more resources available, your Kubernetes runs even better. You don't need, sorry to say that, you don't need an enterprise Linux for that.
Whoa,
you simply
Carsten,
don't.
But one moment. You've totally convinced me with your argument and with what you've said. But if only there was a wholesome and agnostic solution stack that I could be using. I just don't know where to go.
Wait, Christopher. And thank you for
you a freebie for
I know.
We talked about this in pre-production, man.
No, you are totally right. First of all, let me give you an insight into what could solve your problem. Right? Ooh. Just give me a second.
Vanilla stuff.
Yeah. Awesome thing.
Oh, wow.
But thanks for basically laying out the red carpet for me and basically ensuring that I got completely undisturbed onto the thing. I don't need it. The point, I like it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. The point is, and you are completely right, but I don't answer that or don't react on that for Vanilla Stack. I react for that more generally. Although, I'd say you should buy Vanilla Stack. Different story. What you were referring to is basically that you need to have some environment and ecosystem which would not lock you in. That is one of my main complaints I have with, for example, the software stack of a company that is producing awesome hats. They basically have an awesome software stack, but that software stack is just running on top of their enterprise Linux. It is basically just encouraging you to utilize their software, and it's just working with other software provided by them properly. That is what I call a vendor lock. So if I say you don't need an enterprise Linux, you are completely right. What would you run on top of that? Well, you would run on top the community version, the real version, the true version of, for example, Kubernetes. You would, what you want to have, and that's for sure. And I totally agree then with companies such as Red Hat, Microsoft, SUSE, many others. You don't want to be left alone there. You don't want to rely on on a community alone, although that again is a lie, because they imply that the community is, that alone is a lie, because they imply that the community is like a bird flying from left to right and singing a song, whatever. It's not, because actually the community of Kubernetes, for example, is made of Google, SUSE, Red Hat, Microsoft, and many other companies. So that community is consisting of those companies that basically, not entirely, but basically say community is crap. And their products are based on a community product. What I totally get, and then again, let's be honest, I totally get why you want to have something like, I don't want it, but why you want to have something like Red Hat OpenShift. Because you get commercial support with that. And you get many integrations there. I totally get that. I totally get why you want to purchase Rancher. I totally get why you want to purchase Rancher. Because once Rancher was purchased by SUSE. Because you get the power of many with it. You get a company that dares to be different, and you get commercial support with it. And that's the most important thing. You get commercial support. If something breaks, somebody is at your side. If they would use that as an argument, why you would choose Enterprise Linux, I would totally agree. But they don't. They say community is bad. They say community doesn't deliver. They say community is insecure. And that's bullshit. Front to end, beginning to end, it's bullshit. Crap.
Carsten,
Stupid.
Maybe, while you cool off. Again, we might have non-technical viewers, and I always find it good.
Which one of our viewers is non-technical?
Well, we have different people in different audiences, so we just need to explain this. Let me
Hello to all non-technical viewers.
You and what you've been saying remind me of something, and that something's already popped up in history once. I'll do the analogy and I'll try to piece in everything that you've been talking about. So back in 1400 something or other. There was this guy called Henry VIII. For the sake of this story, we'll call him Carsten. And Carsten had a kingdom. Carsten had a kingdom. And since he was figuring, oh man, and the kingdom, and that's kind of a toughie, and I need to run this shit. Why not, like get into a mindset, and this mindset maybe can help me run my kingdom, which was at that point the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church said, hey, cool, we have a lot of community members, a lot of dedicated subscribers, but if you want us to support you, you have to stick to a couple of rules. Some of these rules might seem a little like laws or whatever it is, but for the sake of community, dear Carsten, please stick with our rules. So Carsten said, wow, that's awesome shit. I heard community is great, and if you have a large community, you can do great things. But at some point, young Henry got married, like maybe using one and the same company or whatever it might be in this context. But so young Carsten Henry was married, and at some point he realized, oh my god, the lady I'm married to just isn't right anymore. We've kind of drifted apart, how do we say, let's agree to disagree. It was one of those cases. And so in this case, what Henry did is he said, like, okay, it doesn't matter, I'm king of my own country and I have this huge community, so probably there'll be a different wife in the community.
Wait, was it Henry or was it Carsten?
Carsten.
Okay.
Carsten Reed.
You just said Henry. That's why.
Oh, sorry, Carsten. So Carsten,
I want to put the record straight.
Carsten said, there's probably a great other woman in my community.
Wait. Before you continue, dear Christopher, I'm really interested how you explain the murders. I'm really interested.
Yes, because Carsten. So he was sitting here and he was figuring like, okay, this is boring. It's the new normal. This woman has become the new normal. She's not
In
sexy
those
to me
pandemic
anymore.
times,
She's
yeah,
not
I know.
attractive. She used to do wild things, when I made her drunk back in the day. But now, she's always on my back. Clean this, clean that, that. Like,
Christopher.
so basically, what happened was Carsten said, "Well, I'm bored with the new normal. I want a other new normal." And so he went out and said, like, "You know what, woman? Gone you be." And then stepped in the leader of the community, which at that point was the fucking church, and said, like, "No, no, 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 no. You signed up and wanted to adhere to our community rules, and one of the rules is marriage is sacred, and you cannot leave this woman." And so Carsten went back to his castle and was like, "Oh, this is fucked up. I need to, I need
I am
to."
vendor locked. I'm woman locked.
Yeah, I'm fucking window locked. That's exactly the point. But what young Carsten, or probably a little older Carsten at that point, he'd reflected on life, did was say like, there's different variables and I can play around with them and I might want to change something. So what did Carsten do? He said, fuck it all. Fuck the rules. Fuck my vendor lock. I don't want it anymore. And he went out and he made his own church. And that's the reason why we now have the evangelical church, which is pretty funny. But you know
It's
what
not
Carsten
proper.
did?
It's not proper. It's the Anglican, the Anglicani? Anglican church.
Let's call it the vanilla church. And so, young Carsten went out and made his vanilla church where he said, yeah, rules are not always bad. And maybe, the community still is the most important thing. But, my old community was a little restrictive. They weren't inclusive. And I found that to be problematic. So I shall have a new community where a lot more is allowed. You can be a person as you choose. And God and Jesus will
that is hilarious. That is so hilarious. Oh, damn it.
And yeah, so henceforth, young Carsten was known as the king of the vanilla stack and could make people happy because he was working more inclusive than locking people up in bad portfolios, as in vendor lock. Well, not to make this too fast, but the thing is, make of it what you want. I just said that to be
again, dear Christopher Alan Branston. Awesome, Christopher Alan Branston.
Oh yeah, I have that on my arm, don't I?
I know.
Awesome, Christopher Alan Branston.
I know.
Finally, somebody who used it in real life. Thanks, proud of you.
I know, as the king and the ruler, I just do that from time to time. But what do you make of the deaths I would have caused?
Since, we all believe in the same God, we all believe in kind of life after death and that we go to heaven if we've been good people. Problem solved.
Ah, what a crap.
All just work out. We can just take a huge shit on our own community and say we're doing something different.
But there is some true aspects in that story. Back then, I felt like I got vendor locked. Because my vendor did not deliver anymore. And then I had to ultimately get rid of that vendor. Yeah. You sent me another article I should, you asked me to present.
Yes.
Shall I show it?
Ooh, if you want, you can.
You want to say something?
Oh yes, I would like to say something, because this article is definitely written by someone I ideally appreciate, and it was it was very long winding because it's a fully holistic and comprehensive view on open source. It even starts with a little Python joke,
That fork me thing?
in the
It
headline.
has nothing to do with that one. Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
Python joke.
Funny.
Well, but the thing is, with this article, with your article, when I read it, I said like, fuck yeah, that dude's right, man. I definitely appreciate what you said there. With this article, since it was so large in the scale of information that was in there, it got me thinking. And I don't think everything's right in the article, and I don't think everything's wrong in the article. But basically, it kind of had the same gist as what you were writing in your article, just in very, very many more words, which was basically saying through a lot of the chaotic system that open source is, because open source is a bazaar and not a cathedral, you have many deficiencies, which, especially if you go into enterprise computing, is a problem and is a distraction and is a reason, apparently, why open source cannot be actually in that extent taken seriously in enterprise business models, or basically saying, well, all these people jumping on the bandwagon of open source, it actually isn't as great as you figured it was. Which I don't agree with, but there were a lot of parts in the article, like, for example, saying, isn't open source kind of an old and with that antiquated model just because it's been around so long and we should rethink it? Don't we still have this problem of inclusion in a lot of the communities? Is it? Yeah, I do see a lot of it being male dominated and predominantly white people. I agree with that, because that's a fact more than an assumption. But and also one thing that was at the end of the article was, put your money where your mouth is, basically, or put your, walk the talk. And I heavily agree with that too. But what I was kind of missing was, since this article basically came from someone from Microsoft, was again the way to say, how can we change it? What can we change? Where's the positive outlook? Did we also now just ride the horse of open source till it was dead and now we're jumping onto something next? Or do we have a sustainable solution? Where and when are we going to change something? I know the author of this article, and I know that she really does a lot. And, as mentioned, I just said she, it's a woman talking about open source and IT, which is awesome because she can school people. But I was very, very critical
before
about
you continue, before you continue, the bad thing is that you consider that to be awesome. In regards to the state of our society, because actually it should be normal. It shouldn't be worth any kind of mentioning from your end. It should be just normal. Just wanted to say that.
But I think, because your article had, the conclusion, which was very, very right, saying would or should I use products and companies and software that creates a vendor lock-in? And I don't know, this article didn't take me directly to it, but what I think this article kind of states is that open source and communities always have been a give and take.
Absolutely.
And, it's the giving that is an important part, especially if I look at large-scale corporations. The question always is, well, if you're using enterprise and community stuff to earn money, how much are you giving back? And a lot of companies break it down to, well, I shoved 100K in that direction, pushed 500K into that community as sponsoring. Oh, I have an event where I'm inviting a lot of the community people and, giving them free T-shirts and a beer. But exactly, that's not the point. We, again, analogy time. If you're a kid growing up and have rich parents, people will tell you you're very, very privileged, which at that point is true and probably a good thing. But that doesn't decide what you think and feel as a human. And in a lot of cases, it's not money that makes you grow and feel happy and be a content human, but it's the love that you get. And love is sharing, and sharing is caring, and caring is giving more than taking. And that is all community. And that's what I'm missing here, because people are trying to blow up something that's been completely natural, for example, to me for a very, very long time. Communities, not only in open source or in software, but anywhere. And they're trying to stylize to something that they kind of uh, reinvented, then made better, and now say, fuck you. And that just doesn't make sense. Just while I'm hearing myself say basically what the main points were, it just doesn't make sense. And then, out of reasons of monetization, saying, well, the actual fault and the flaw is within the communities is, I think, a bit harsh. Let's put it that way. It's harsh.
How come?
Because I mean, it's, how can you take stuff that people made in their free time and put, at that point, really love and probably some sweat, maybe tears into it, and said, I want to make the world better, and I have a certain skill, and I'm going to use my skill to start a project and gather people, and maybe the project will grow, and everyone does what he does best, called meritocracy, and we'll also promote people within this project by merit and by involvement or whatever it is. And then you go and take this, so something that very many people made out of their own free will, try and cash in on it, and when it doesn't make any cash anymore, say, well, fuck you, you're all fault, this is your problem. That in my eyes is pretty plain and common stealing, which in most countries is illegal by law and will be punished, but at this point is being leveraged in a way to say, well, if my service or product has sucked as a corporation over the last decade or two, it's actually the people, it's the user that's fault, it's the community that's fault, it's the stupid people that didn't want to work for me for free, that maybe reminded me of the guidelines and rule sets that have been there longer than my brand and my greed, and just trying to make them the bad people. And I just don't get why this is happening, because even going away from the brands mentioned in our articles, I'm seeing this happen in very, very many cases. I think, for example, we talked about this last week, or maybe it was with Emil in Friday Catch Up, hashtag advertisement. And where I was saying, we have, like, Tesla. Tesla took cars. Cars have motors and wheels and whatever it is on them, and that's, pretty general technology. Does anybody own the wheel? Does anybody own the motor? Does anybody own putting a motor in a chassis and putting wheels on it so it can propel forward? I don't think so. And if now then a company comes and takes this simple, or this very open common technology that actually everybody kinds of owns, which is car, and into this car put certain technology which at first glance is all open because it's on GitHub and we have a repository, but use a said piece of software to restrict something that doesn't even have a patent and should be commonly open, that is a bad capitalist practice. And that is something we as end users, first and foremost, as open source community advocates, secondly, and as people in generally, should stand up against. Because up to now, we've talked a lot about the vendor locks from company to company, which sucks because budgets get drained for no reason. But I'm talking about business to customer lock-ins, and that sucks even worse. That's all I'm saying here. Fuck the establishment. Fight the man.
If you could just leave it alone for a second. Well, I'm just thinking if I want to comment on that. Microsoft. No, I don't want to do that. Reddit. No. You know what I'm just not saying.
Hey, as mentioned, I've realized this. We often, and not only on this show, but very, very often, we walk around and we take, in the funniest case, brand names to express something positive or negative. Classic example outside of, actually, it was also inside of this webcast when I make fun of you for your Apple devices. I'm personally using a piece of technology or a brand to state something positive or negative, which also isn't correct. That's why, today I said, leave away the brand, maybe even don't stay in the enterprise sector, go into your private matters and private life. But I had this with one of my neighbors at the weekend, where I was saying, the world at the moment is in a weird state. There's so much uncool shit that's happening. Some we're directly responsible for as human beings. Some others we just aren't. But the minimum thing that I can do myself to make this world a better place is actually go back to my roots as a human and say I was put on this planet to make love, not war. That's a bit the hippie in me, but generally also saying, sharing and giving and not only taking and giving a fuck about your surroundings and the people in your world is what at the moment and maybe in the worst case, if the world comes to the next tipping point, will keep us together and will make us go through this. And that generally,
Don't be an
is the
asshole.
base. Yeah, it's kind of the base.
Don't be an asshole. I cannot say it differently. From my perspective, that should be the first and foremost guide for everyone. Don't be an asshole.
Don't
and
be
just
a dick.
think. Just thinking of yourself, of your own advantage, without trying to give back, without trying to contribute, without trying to, being transparent on that is, to some extent, the definition of being an asshole. Which pretty much sums up the email from, sorry, we don't want it to say company names, Red Hat, which pretty much sums up how quite often arguments are taken out against a community because you want to sell something and you do that by destroying something else, or by trying to discredit things. And that is basically, again, what this email was all about. It was about discrediting things, which is the definition of being an asshole, if you write that. Even if you have good arguments on your side, then please rely on your arguments and don't bash the community. Don't bash other companies. As long as you don't have an awesome webcast, because then you are allowed to do that. But that is your personal opinion then. Anyways, the point is, and I'm totally on your side. The point is, I don't know where that came from. The point is, don't be an asshole and be as if you take that back towards software and not so much in the global scope and context, although I'm totally on your side in regards to what you said. But even if you run and set up and write your own proprietary software, which is great. Just do that. You don't need to open source it, but then don't bash those who do. And perhaps don't bash those who gave birth to you, literally. And that is basically what basically sums that up for me. Don't be an asshole. And if I look on that thing, where one asshole says that another company, which behaves like an asshole, has his blessing for basically stealing something another company owns, well, that would make up the next time for being an asshole. And it's not just Donald Trump being an asshole, because he is an asshole, undisputedly. He's the biggest asshole that I currently can think of being a president in power. He's even rivaling the North Korean one and the Syrian one, and perhaps even the French one. No, I did not say that. The point is, he's an asshole, period. And every company, and look, which companies tried to bid for that? It was Microsoft. It was Oracle, jointly with Walmart. Walmart basically, first of all, joining Microsoft. And then once Microsoft tried to I don't know, negotiate a worse deal, they joined Oracle. That is assholism.
Oh man, the one thing you couldn't get at Walmart, they now have, and it's a good old privacy violation. But
it so much fits. Don't get me wrong. We do, for example, we do business with Oracle.
It fits so very, very well because it's exactly the point we've been making this last hour. The actual news article is about TikTok and Oracle and Trump and all these business fuckers doing business. And, in German we say rechte Tasche, linke Tasche, which basically means, you take it out of one of your pockets and just put it in the other one. Oh, it's the new normal, the new normal. But the thing is, that again, the end of the line is that the user is fucked. And maybe people haven't seen this in their country, in their media, but you'll get to hear it now. TikTok even went as far to manipulate children and steal data from children that were using their app.
No, Christopher, you cannot say that. They just forgot to implement some security measures. Shit happens.
Yes, but that's the mind-boggling thing, because one
asshole is working with another asshole against a third asshole with the consent of a fourth asshole.
Wow. It's the asshole stack.
But the point is,
it's the brown stack.
But then again, and I just want to make that clear. Just because you steal from an asshole does not make you less an asshole.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect. I'm very, very far from that. People who follow the show might know. But for me, actually the most important thing is, and I hope these companies have well-paid PR and innovation managers thinking about this, because if I think, how do I make choices in the meantime, and especially in a time that I've been restricted to my area and have had a pretty boring and dull and very, very local life, I'm choosing brands and I'm choosing products that I use, for one, via the trust that I have in them. The second is also, are they sustainable? The third is, think global, buy local. And with that, what I'm saying is that in the future, it will be very, very, very important for a brand to not be an asshole, to be the exact opposite, to be something. And that actually goes back to to ages back when products and marketing and selling stuff was invented, which is you have to have something good, innovative, and that brings a value add to your user or customer, that people will actually buy it. That's what I'm saying. Heard. Enough.
Dear Christopher Allen Branston, the amazing one. Don't you oversee something?
The Cloud Report, sponsoring open.clouds.dev. Haven't done that yet today. I oversaw that. No, what do you mean?
It's a serious question.
Yes.
How do you get that combined with the fact that SUSE became an Oracle partner, and even Cloudical is an Oracle partner? We are doing business with them. Mm-hmm. What does that make of us? You as a SUSE employee, me as the owner of Cloudical. I mean, frankly, I don't care in that regard, because I say they are an asshole. At least behaving like an asshole. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean to imply that everybody working there is an asshole. Not at all. Awesome people are working there. Awesome people. I got to know several of them. Really awesome people. Bright, intelligent, community driven. They check all the check marks. But they work for a company which, sorry, is an asshole company.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, no, it is true. I mean, that's part of what I admire with Oracle, frankly. When they decide to do something, they just do. Larry Ellison is, sorry, an asshole, but he is a very successful asshole. Yeah. Very successful and very rich asshole. Yeah, totally.
But coming from our side, Carsten, you can go to bed tonight and have a clear conscience. It doesn't matter, because from either the Cloudical or the SUSE side, why do we do that? Not primarily with the focus on, Oracle has the market power and that's why we have to join them on the dark side, but actually for exactly the other reason. For me, even offering Oracle in a certified way is part of my agnostic strategy that I have, or the agnostic concept within, because part of saying I'm truly agnostic, or part of saying I'm truly inclusive, is also including the assholes. It's just a fact of life. That's the way it is, I can't say I cannot say I'm a true philanthropist, and I might even be a pacifist, but I'm gonna beat up assholes. It just won't work. Yes, please.
Where do you draw the line? And then again, it's an honest question. I give you an example. I have one. I know that guy for a long time. He's a CEO of his own company as well. Technically, he is very reputable, but he is politically he is a problem, because he understands himself. It's not the same as a company, but frankly, it's not that different. He understands himself to be liberal, and as such, he basically yells out his own kind of opinion, but does not discuss with those on the extremist side of thing. He just says, yeah, look, I'm liberal. Everybody can have his own opinion. I can understand that person to be an asshole, but that won't stop me. Moral is always in the eye of the one looking at things. Where do you draw the line? Because if you think that further, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to impose a moral statement there, because I don't feel like we are angels in that regard, or we are perfect, not even close. But where do you draw the line? Because if you think of that, you end up being in 1933. Or you end up being in 2016 in the United States. Where do you draw the line?
I mean,
it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it is a great question actually. In the scenario you just were talking about, partnering with Oracle, I draw the line at that point. If it's a partnership and we're saying, hey, we can benefit from each other and we both each other certify our software and create this value add, all cool. But if now,
But it's the same
Larry,
company
good old Larry,
buying. It's the same company forcefully buying into TikTok. It's the same company which has one of the biggest advertisement companies within
but
them, who had a huge data breach just 3 months ago.
but you might know it now already, or as soon as Cloudical has 10, 20, 50, 100, 200,000 employees, I bet you that you wouldn't be quite so cool with, for example, if one of your employees turns out to be a Nazi leader or distributes child pornography or does really, really evil stuff. And after him working for you for 5 years and actually being a decent employee, he gets arrested or something, or you're made aware of this. Is it your fault because you hired him? Is it a general problem within the whole ecosystem of what he
That
was
is not the
in,
point.
that he's a bad person?
No. Wait. That is not a
And
point.
but it is, because
No.
just because,
That is not a point. It changes in the moment you get to know.
yes,
Then
that's
you
true.
need to do. Then, from my perspective, you need to take position. And frankly,
Exactly, and that's
frankly,
exactly it,
again,
because
I'm totally on your side. It's not green and red or black and white or whatever, magenta and nothing on the opposite side of the color scheme. It is it's always a grayish tone. I just wanted to work that out actually, because it is a grayish tone.
it's exactly what you said. Actually, you already gave in my opinion at least, I'm going to take it for the moment, the right answer. It's not about what happened and who it happened to, whatever, but it's actually the point of you getting to know what happened and the way you react to this.
Yeah, but then again, the point I want to make is, first of all, we don't. Here's a fly flying around. We don't. We are no angels, not at all. We are working with companies and organizations that we don't see as role models, and we do that purposely. And we know why we do that, because, and you made that very clear. Because money, it earns our living. Nonetheless, what I feel like is, and my former partner here at Cloudical, he asked me a question long time before we even founded Cloudical. He said, "Where do you draw the line?" Because we were driving next to a Scientology building. And I was like, I would make business with those guys. I would charge them three times the price I would charge others, but I would make business with them because technically they are legal. But I would not make any kind of business with a Nazi organization, for example, or with an organization that is extremists, from my perspective. And yes, ultimately it is obviously, then again, a personal decision. I mean, I'm in a nice situation that I can be moralistic. I can say, well, from today on, I won't make any business with companies wearing hats anymore.
No tattooed people. I've heard that one before.
Not from me. But the point is, But the point is, what I just want to say is, if we say, and please, dear Oracle colleagues, and even please, dear Larry Ellison, forgive us on saying Oracle is an asshole company. But from our point of view, in a moralic way, they are. Which does not imply that you are assholes. Not you, Larry, you are. But frankly,
I mean,
we still do business with you. Let me finish that thought. We still do business with you, but we watch you. Exactly. We watch you. We look at what you do. We see what you do. We don't comply with what you do. And there are limits and boundaries. There is a line that we won't cross. And that, from my perspective, by the way, constitutes some sort of, looking for the word, give me the word, Haltung. Christopher.
Opinion?
No, not opinion, more like a moralic stance. That constitutes,
Handling.
perhaps, that constitutes basically my lines. The points where I don't
Yes.
continue working with you. I cannot afford being black and white. I cannot afford looking at the purest kind of company, because it does not exist. We all do mistakes. We all behave like assholes. When Christopher Branston has his 16th beer in a row, he starts telling bad jokes. I know that for sure. When Carsten Samaschke has seen Christopher drinking the 16th beer in a row, he would perhaps even laugh on those jokes. So, point is, we are no angels.
Yeah, and
Wanna be daylight in your eyes. Wanna be sun.
but it's also and this is something actually to kind of tie the knot, because we have
Yeah,
to
no,
off
I have time,
sadly
Christopher
in a
Allen
couple of
Branston.
minutes
I
because
have
work
time.
needs me back.
I
But,
have time.
just to make it round is one thing I did mention is think of yourself as a human and think yourself as one teeny tiny part of this whole thing called planet and life and
Wait,
humans
me?
and existence. Yes, also you. And what we are discussing here is always, of course, because that's kind of the gist of our show, the big moves and the CEOs and capitalism and whatever it is. But just to break it down real quick, because I'm of the firm belief in an opinion that if every human on this planet does one kind thing a day, and the easiest kind thing you can do is give somebody a smile who's not smiling, then this planet would be a better place. And that's no matter if you leave it with yourself, if you put it into your own community context, if you take it to the level of a company, if you take it to the level of a country, if you take it to the level of the whole planet. In the least cases, there will be this one person, one instance, one thing that can solve all of the world's problems and make all of the evil go away and fight
Runs all of your
the
workloads perfectly.
but that's what all of our shows at least have been about, and everything we've talked about. If we come together as a community, if we set ourselves certain moral guidelines that we stick to, and if everybody just does what he or she can do best to create a positive outcome and to do some good for the world, together we can be very, very strong as humanity. And that's exactly the point. And there, I'm saying, fuck the business bigwigs. There's some of them who are
Suck the system.
that there's some that are deep philanthropists. There's others who say I'm a born capitalist and I love more money more than anything on the world. Let those people be those people. But we're talking probably in a lot of cases of the 1%ers, the top 1% of the world. And who's going to win in the end? What has history taught us? The 1% or the 99?
That's a rhetorical question, isn't it?
Take it.
But I give you a proper answer on that, and that should end our show. Amen, brother. Amen. Wait. So. Wrong direction. Now do it again. Do it again.
Namaste.
Always that kind of Chinese dialect in the end.